So welcome back. In this lesson, we're going to work on populating our items table view. So to do that, if you remember, we have to go to our main storyboard. And in here, I'm going to say the data source as well as the delegate for our table view is this UI view controller. Then I'm going to go to my items view controller, say it has the UI table view data source and UI table view delegate, very similar, actually identical to what we did for our lists view controller. And if you remember, in our lists view controller, there were two methods that are number of rows in sections and cell for row at index path that are absolutely required. So I'm going to copy the two of those. I'm going to go to my items view controller.m, and in here I'm going to say do this. Return the number of rows to be 5 and say the cell is items cell, and also say cell.textLabel.text is a test item, and of course return the cell. And if all works, we should be able to see the things that, we should be able to see 5 dummy items. Let's see. Good. So now if I click in here, 5 dummy items, and here again 5 dummy items. But what we actually need is we need to customize the look of these. So let's go ahead and quickly work on that. This is going to be a slightly longer piece of code, and I hope you can put up with it. So in our cell for row at index path, I'm going to say item class, and this item class is this item. It is essentially a shared instance dot current list that index. The index is current list integer, and then list items object at index path dot row. So this way we manage to get access to this particular item that has to be shown in this index path based on this current list. So once we got that, I'm going to go ahead and say cell.textLabel is this item dot item name. So this is one part of the issue, and if we run the code now, we should be able to see those names showing up properly. And there was an error actually, so let me see what happened in here. Index 2 is beyond bounds. Oh, absolutely, sorry, that was my mistake. So in the items view controller, I rushed it and I made a mistake. Number of rows in sections are of course shared instance dot current list object at index, and that object is current list integer, and the exact item of it is list items dot count. So one more time, and when we click we see 2 items. Perfect. So that part is taken care of. So that was the number of rows in sections. If you want, you can pause in here for a second and then move on. Then what I'm going to say is this. In my cell for row at index path, I'm going to say, well, if this item dot purchased was the case, if it was true, some things should happen, else something else should happen. So what are those things? One of the things is cell.background color. It should be UI color dark gray. So that is if it was purchased. If it wasn't, then this one should actually be light gray. Then I'm gonna say cell.textLabel.text color. It should be UI color light gray. And the opposite of it should happen if it wasn't purchased. Then cell.accessory type, it should be UI table view table view cell accessory check mark. And if that wasn't the case, then of course it should be none. So that's that. We took care of that. I'm also gonna say if it was purchased, make the text a little smaller. So cell dot text label dot font is UI font, system font of size, let's say 14. And of course, if that wasn't the case, make it maybe 18. So let's see what we got so far. So if I click there, perfect. One of them is larger, is darker, and the other one is not. And maybe that dark wasn't a good idea. So let me change a few things. Instead of in the else mode, instead of the background being light, I'm gonna make it white, and I'm gonna make this one black. All right, so that's taken care of. The next thing we wanna have a strict through this text if the item is purchased. So in here, I'm gonna have to do that part. This is the one that's gonna be slightly longer, so I hope you can, bear with me. First of all, I need an NS mutable attributed string. Attributed string, and I'm calling it attr string. And that is going to be NS mutable attributed string alloc. And I'm going to initialize it with a string. And the string is this item dot item name. So we got our initial attributed string. Then I'm going to go ahead and say attributed string, add attribute to it. And the attribute I want to add is NSString true style and the value of maybe 2, and for a NSMake range of 0, and this item dot item name dot length. So we made our, let me just get this better spacing so we can actually see it. And like that. So if our item is purchased, we set a new attributed string and we say cell.textLabel.attributed text. That becomes attr string. I'm going to copy this whole thing at the bottom of my else, and the only thing is different is the value is going to be 0. So that attr string, it basically applies nothing. Let's run the code. And voila. If our item is purchased, we see the check mark, the background is dark gray, text is bright gray, light gray, and there is a strict through it. Otherwise, there isn't. And that's about that. That's the end of this lesson. I could perhaps just push this one line down so we could zoom into them. I'm actually gonna zoom into this section for you if you want. And it's pretty straightforward. These sections are actually quite easy. This is perhaps a slightly newer thing for you. And yeah, just spend a few minutes on it, and then we move on to our next lesson.